Hi, my name is Soma, and today we are going to talk about holacracy should direct fight the holacracy initiative. And this is part of the Management 615 organizational behavior week 4 YouTube video on the team formation assignment. And we are going to discuss briefly on holacracy and the case study associated with the fictitious organization that was given as part of the case study. Okay. So let's talk about holacracy for a moment to understand what it means, right? And holacracy is a customizable self-management practice for organizations, and that's the definition or some text I've taken from the holacracy.org, the website itself. And it also says it basically enables employees act like entrepreneurs, and they self-organize and self-direct their work. So basically, the intent is to give them more freedom, and so they can make faster decisions, and instead of going through up the chain to the management to get all those decision making and those kind of stuff, you want it more like in local governance or within the groups itself. You just want to self-organize and create their own work and profits and losses and things like that, right? And similar to agile, if people have paying attention towards the agile processes, that actually has replaced the waterfall, the standard waterfall methodology of implementing projects, not just in the IT and software development areas, but across other organizations, including banking and various other organizations or other domains. Sorry, are implementing the agile practices these days. And so holacracy probably talks about a step further towards it. But again, organizations need to be matured enough to actually adopt to such kind of new methodology or management initiatives, right? And agile practices also, it helps organizations to bring products and services more quickly to the customers and to the market, and it involves customers right from the day one of the process of the product or the solution build. And it talks about people over processes because it's customer oriented and people oriented, those kind of processes. And the intent is to deliver a minimum viable product at certain frequency of time, probably within a 2 weeks of sprint or things like that. So it's not like you deliver the entire solution, but you build phase by phase on top of it. And but at least the customer is able to see that, validate, and confirm. So the user acceptance or the customer acceptance is already there within the first few weeks of the product build. Now, coming on to this topic on should direct fight the holacracy initiative, the answer is yes. I would definitely say that. And the reasons are because the directors need to be aligned. And the case study says, oh, on a one-on-one basis, the CFO is trying to align, and people who are not aligned are asked to go and talk to the CFO, which is direct, right? And and as an organization itself needs to be aligned, and employees also has to be aligned, right, towards that initiative. And only when you involve the employees itself as part of the organization initiative or the organization change management processes, they feel that they're consulted in this whole process, and then they can vote for you or stand beside you in that initiative. But if you throw it as a surprise to the employees who have been used to these kind of the traditional methods of the organization functioning, and those surprises are not acceptable by anyone for that matter, right? And also the case study doesn't talk about how they handle the Russia scandal and how they are going to stop those kind of recurrence or the the relapse of such issues, how it can happen. So the case study doesn't have much details about it. Similarly, or according to Valina, Vasily, and Denisov in a 2018 paper where they have done some quantitative analysis with 96 organizations, and they have come out with a paper, which I have the reference on the last slide. And they did confirm, and when they did the research with the questionnaire to some of these organizations, they confirmed that the modern approaches in organizing, such as holacracy, it will work on a long-term basis, and the negative effects will be minimized if the organization strength is about 2 to 50 employees. So anything more than that, it's likely to fail. And the ideal companies who can adopt to this kind of new initiatives are the ones with which has a dynamic culture and self-driven employees who love their work, right? And they believe, excuse me, they believe that their job has a better purpose. So, adopting to agile approaches prior to holacracy, I would recommend actually, adopt the organization or direct to actually adopt agile even before you go that far implementing the holacracy model, right? So collective wisdom defined by Berkshire in his textbook is crucial for the company using holacracy, right? And if you do not get the consensus of the entire organization into play, it's not going to win any successes for the organization. It's as simple as that. And starting implementing slowly in a department or a country, and then gradually by region, right? And this is part of the MIT and anonymous slow and review. Again, I have the reference on the last slide. And basically, instead of changing the entire organization just by one thought, slowly try bringing the change within the region, right? Or slowly or within the department. And if that is successful, then implement that across the country or all the organizations within the country, and from the country move to the geographical regions and so on. So it can be a bottom-top approach, so that you will also find the challenges when you implement these, and you can start learning from those lessons and get better when you emulate similar models in the other departments. So that way, instead of throwing everything into chaos, it's better to handle changes in a small fashion, right? And you also need to decide how much power you're willing to give up, and that's what primarily the agile talks about, right? And you need to prepare the stakeholders for that kind of a leap. And this is, of course, this case study, the company is a public listed company, it's a construction company. And they pretty much have the same set of templates and construction models and all that, right? And it doesn't change much, except across countries, where back in India, all of construction happens using cement, versus in the US, you do most of the wood-based construction, right? Similarly, and you need to build the structure around the customers, right? And also understand the customers and accordingly build that structure. And it may or may not apply across everywhere, because again, agile is something that's started, or adoption of agile is initially in the US. But similar adoption, again, there'll be cultural barriers if you start hardly enforcing those kind of processes that's applicable in the US outside of the US. When you enforce outside of US, you will definitely face challenges, especially in more culturally cohesive countries like Europe, as well as China and Japan, and or even Asia for that matter. Right? And you also need to give employees the right balance of oversight and autonomy. So instead of starting the holacracy approach completely, start slowly with implementing the agile methodologies. That's my recommendation. And I have personally seen even agile recommendations or agile approach has did not go well in one of the telecom giants in the US. And I was part of the project and the project manager when they were trying to overhaul their business intelligence applications, which was being there like about 15, 20 years, and they tried to revamp the whole thing into an Hadoop and cloud and that kind of environment. It was not a big success. There were a lot of challenges, and employees also needs to be aligned with the organization. That's the key thing, and that's where PMI, Project Management Institute, recommends a whole set of template and processes on what you call as organizational change management (OCM). That needs to be taken step by step, and you need to implement that to make it successful. It just cannot be an CEO's decision that you want to overturn the organization implementing holacracy. Okay, and these are the references: Staying Agile, 2019 MIT Sloan Management Review, and that's what I mentioned. It's an anonymous writer out there. And the next one is Velino, Vasilov, and Denisov from Holacracy and Obligity Contingency Management Approaches. And this definitely talks about in terms of the quantitative methods and the numbers and percentages and all that. So this was my second reference. Thank you all for hearing us.